Hey guys, it's Dawn here, and there's a conversation going on the Facebook internet right now about people that do and do not have internal monologues. Sorry. So some people have an internal monologue where you hear the voice in your head, the little voice in your head that narrates everything, and some people do not. They don't hear a voice, but they can see things. And then in the group of the people that do not have the internal monologues, then it's also split, because then you watch the different videos of the people that are describing how their thoughts form, and one person cannot hold a picture in their mind at all. Like, they don't know what their mom looks like until they see their mom. They cannot picture the color red. When you ask them to think of the color red, they start pulling out memory of items that are red, and okay, this is a red, but they can't see just red. And it's just really interesting, how different people's minds work. So we all know that I have a very strange mind, so then I had to jump into this pool as well. And my biggest question was, okay, for those of you that have an internal monologue, is it truly, literally a monologue, like you hear one voice? Because I have many voices. I have an internal dialogue, and it is multiples. Now, I will back up and say that a long time ago, I was diagnosed with multiple personalities disorder, which now has been changed to, I don't know, there's so many names for it. There's fractured personality, splintered, dissociative self-cognizance. I don't know. There's so many different variations, or maybe they're all talking about the same thing, or maybe they're just giving it different names because one's more accurate or more politically correct than the other. I don't know. But all of it boils down to, I guess, is very distinct different selves. And so I remember I was having a conversation with a friend, and all of a sudden he stops me and he goes, "Wait, you keep saying we. Who is we? Who is we?" And I'm like, "Oh, me." And he's like, "Well, why are you using the term we for me? It's just you, right? One." And I'm like, I don't know. I never even thought about it. I just said, I always think of me as we, because there are so many of us in here. So yeah, I want to know if those of you that have internal monologues, is it really a monologue? You really just hear one voice? Because I have so many. And that is why it's so hard to keep thoughts. It is so loud in here. And especially when I dream, it is so loud in my dreams. Oftentimes when I wake up, it's almost like I physically, my ears physically get a break, and I just embrace the silence of the real world, because the dream world is just so loud. So I wake up, and then finally it's like, oh, this is such a relief to wake up. And then I just have my voices to deal with. But in the dream world, it's, I don't know, it's just loud with stuff that's going on, and it is physically loud and tiring. I want to go over some other stuff that's weird about me, just to throw it out there and see if anyone else can relate. And if they can relate, let me know, so I don't feel like I'm such a weirdo. But for those of you that are just looking for data on how people think, then I want to throw just to throw some extra data out there into the wind. Okay, so I watched 2 videos of people that don't have internal monologues, and one of which is my husband. He doesn't, but he can see pictures in his head, and he can read fantasy fiction books, and he can imagine, and he can hold concepts. Like, he's very, very excellent at building things, and he has to create the whole building in his mind first, and then he puts it out, and he can draw them out and all that stuff. So he's really good in that way. But that is different, because another person that doesn't have internal monologue, she says she can't hold pictures in her head. Now, for me, I am not that good at drawing out things in my head. I pictures don't form so well in my head, and I have a big memory issue. It's almost like my whole entire brain is set up to only be in the here and now, and I have intense focus. I can focus so hard, everything else disappears, and it is just a single narrow-minded focusness, and that makes me so that I can really excel, but only at one thing at a time. If there are multiple people talking at me, I get frazzled. It will piss me off, because I can only focus on one thing at a time. If I am trying to drive and I really need to pay attention, I can only drive. Don't talk to me. If you talk to me, then that's how I get lost. And so yeah, I can't multitask. I can only focus one thing at a time. But going back to the multiple voices. Okay, so I have 3 main parts. There is a bad side, and this side we're not going to talk about too much, because this side I keep locked up. This side is a result of trauma and all that, and I really love this side, because I know that if I was ever in trauma or in a bad situation, all I have to do is unleash this side, and this side will decimate anything, and it will keep me safe. But it is not a side that is good or kind or nice or anything that is good for society. So, but self-preservation, that's what this side is good for. So we have this side, but it is there, so I have to mention. Then there is a core side that I've been developing, and I really like this side, but this is a very logical, no emotions, just logic. Think Spock or whatever, right? Or a robot. And that is a big side that I operate in, and I like this side because it's just data. So a lot of times I grab data, and there are data that have emotional, or people are sensitive about, and all that, and that's fine. But sometimes emotion sensitivity can cripple you when all you want to do is work with the data. You don't want to worry about being politically correct and all that stuff, because it can cripple you. We can't say this, we can't do this because it'll hurt this person's feelings, and I understand all that, and that's fine when you're operating within society. But if you're just trying to be a scientist, if you're just trying to figure out the solution to the problem, sometimes you just need to strip out the emotion part of it and just work with pure data. What does the data say? Okay, so I have that, and that is where I like to work in. Then I have the nice side, and this side is I love everyone, puppies and kittens, and life is so wonderful, so good. And this is a side that never experienced trauma. This is a side that when trauma was happening, we locked her up into a safe, and we did not let her experience it. We kept her safe, and so we love her innocence and her positivity and all that stuff, but she is weak, and when it comes to dealing with the real world, sometimes a little too naive. Her naivete will get her killed. So she's great, she's wonderful, she's the one that everyone loves, right? But we have to keep her safe, and so her exposure out is a little bit limited. So Now, how extreme are these personalities, I guess? I just call them different sides. I do believe they are all, well, of course, they're all me, right? But this one can't be let out. She is a danger to society. This one is fine, but not so great in sensitive situations and when a friend just needs a friend and all that. This one has no idea what to do, only deals with data. This one is too naive and too positive. So, now these are real and they are strong. Like, I experienced like a death of a beloved pet, okay? This one will be sobbing uncontrollably, just feeling so much pain of the loss and just sobbing, cannot stop, like ugly crying, cannot stop, can't even, to the point where can't even breathe, right? And then this one will take over and just snap, just a flippo snap, and then all of a sudden I don't feel anything. The sadness, the loss, the sorrow, it's all gone. And there is, the acknowledgement and that there is sadness that our beloved pet is gone, but now we don't feel that pain anymore, so then we don't have to be sobbing. So then people say, well, you gotta let that out. So that's why, okay, fine, we will switch over and we will sob and all. But then it gets to a point where it's like, okay, all this sobbing is not gonna do anything. We gotta breathe, we gotta stop, and then we switch back over, and then we just don't feel it anymore, and then we can stop. So it is useful that way. It only becomes a problem when there is a thing. Oh, and they argue. That's a thing. You guys have internal monologues, so it's just one person. And I know that you can bounce things back and forth. You can draw scenarios and you can bounce things back and forth, right? But is it still just pretty small? Because in my head, it is loud, because if all three sides, and in the three sides, there are still many side conversations. So I can be all logic and have many different positions in that logic, and so on and so forth. So they will all be arguing, and it only becomes a problem when I encounter something where they all disagree on. So, and I was trying to think of an example, and the only example that I can think of that I cannot resolve because there is no answer is the way I look in the mirror. This has always been a problem. I don't seem to see people as their physical. I see people as how I think or feel about them. So there have been times where I see a really cute guy and I think, oh, he's so cute, he's so attractive. And then I see an ugly side of him, he's mean, or he's a bully, and all of a sudden he is no longer cute and attractive to me, right? Because now I can only see the ugly side of him. But did he physically change? No, his physical features didn't change, but I see him totally differently, right? That has always spooked me, because I'm like, I cannot trust what I see. And that's why it's always been crazy to me when people say, I only trust what I see with my own two eyes. And I'm like, I can't even trust what I see with my own eyes. It is so clouded by perception, and I have so many different perceptions I can switch, which makes it good in that I am one that I can see multiple sides to a solution, multiple sides of a problem to find solutions. And that is why I'm such a great analyst. And I made a whole living, a whole career out of being senior systems application analyst. And that was my strong point. I can see things from all different sides, and that is because I have these different I hate saying that word, it doesn't sound right, but I have these different voices, and so they all attack it at once, and then I can go, oh, right? Okay, but the example is how I see myself in the mirror. That has always been a problem. So this side says I am disgustingly ugly, can't even stand to look at myself in the mirror. Okay, can't. It's just, I hate it. Then this side says, logic says, it doesn't matter what you look like in the mirror. Just make sure that you got no boogers, that, you know, you don't have shit all over your face or whatever, and just, you know, get yourself looking presentable, and then that's it. Because what you look like is not what another person's going to see anyways, and their perception is totally different. So even if I think that I'm ugly, someone else will come and say that I'm beautiful, and then I'm like, you crazy. Right? And then I have this side, which we always laugh with this side, because then she goes, oh, you're so pretty, you don't even need makeup. And this side's like, what the, you crazy. Yes, she does, because she's freaking butt ass ugly, and any makeup at all is gonna be a help. Okay, cover it all up. So these, all my life, have never been able to agree. And the only thing that we can settle on is to, first of all, I spend very little time looking at myself in the mirror. Just enough time to make myself look presentable, acceptable to be seen in public, and to make sure that there's no crud on me, right? And just make sure that, okay. So, and then it's basically like, well, as far as how I look, this is how I look. I can't change it. And this is how I was born. So, and what I am is not what other people see anyways. They're going to see whatever they want, and I can't control that. So who cares? It doesn't even matter. Moot point. And that is where we've settled at. But if you ask each different one, yeah, totally opposites. Okay, so let's see. Some other weird... Oh. Okay. That if you have questions, just let me know. But I'm just going to stop there. Yes, they all argue. Sometimes this one, especially if I've made a mistake, especially if this one in a situation where there's a fork in the road, and then we want to choose this way or this way, and this one wants to go this way, this one wants to go this way, but then, okay, we go, okay, no, we're going to do the nice thing, we're going to go this way, and then it turns out to be a mistake. Oh my gosh, this one will become so mean to this one, and just berate, mean, bully, pit, until I make myself cry. This one will break down in tears and cry, and I am like the meanest person to myself. It is horrible. It is horrible. And I mean, there are things, and I don't forgive myself. So is that weird? You guys do it too, right? I know you guys do it. I know it's out there, because I've read of things about this, and you know, people have said you have to forgive yourself, right? That's what we're talking about. So I don't know. Am I really that different? I don't know. You guys tell me. So some other things that's weird about me. I only eat once a day. That varies. If I did a really big workout, yeah, I'll eat something else. But for the most part, no, I'm not hungry. I only eat what I need to eat, and then that's it. I only need to eat once a day. I'm just too busy. I'm busy. I don't feel hungry. Eating once a day is just good enough. Now I do eat a really good meal, and I do try to make sure that one meal is a really good one, and if anyone tries to take that one meal away from me, I will be pissed. But yeah, I usually don't get hungry again until the 24-hour mark. So when people are saying, oh, you have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm like, who has time for that? Another thing is I don't need a lot of sleep. For typically I need 5 hours of sleep. It used to be 4. I used to like 4, but then 5 is really nice. 5 makes me feel like I've slept in, you know? I've treated myself with an extra hour of sleep. I can't do 8 hours. I can if I'm sick or I'm super tired or whatever, there's a lot of stress, or if I'm depressed, I can sleep more. But really, I physically have to just get up. I have to get out of bed, okay? So now there was a time I did 22 days sleeping only 1 to 3 hours every day for 22 days. And that is something that they say is not healthy, possible, whatever. I did it fine. And this was during my trip to, I did 22 days. I went to London, Paris, and then Kenya for Africa horseback safari, 10 days. So, I mean, this is intense, hard work, hard physical, and every day I was in London and Paris, I was walking as much as I could, exploring, right? And I've never done that before since that adventure. But for that adventure, my goal was, I had a goal, right? And my goal was to learn and see everything. And I knew I only had this 5 days in London, 5 days in Paris, 10 days in Kenya. I only had a limited amount of time, and I just needed to pour everything into it. So I only slept 1 to 3 hours, and the rest of that time I was spent researching where I was going to go next when it was the downtime at night. I was washing my clothes because I could only go, I had to survive 22 days with just a backpack and one carry-on, and all of my helmet and my horseback riding equipment that I needed to do the safari. So, I had very limited space. So, laundry and research and journaling, and because I didn't want to forget everything and all that stuff. So that's what I did in all my time. But all my time was used up, and I needed to use it. And I did not ever feel tired, and I did not ever start hallucinating or anything like that. Now, I have driven myself to that point before, but that was, so what makes it so that I can do that? I have done research, and there is a gene that allows it. And so what happens is when you sleep, I think the typical person is you fall asleep, and there's a big buffer area here where nothing really happens. You just fall asleep. And then there is the REM sleep, where this sleep is where you actually get everything you need out of sleep, pretty much, okay? So the REM sleep is your important part, and then you have a buffer area here when you wake up. That's typically how it goes. And a lot of people go dipping in and out of it, and you can wear sleep monitors, and I've done that, and all that to see how you slept, and that'll correlate to how rested you are, because sleep doesn't equate to rest. And that is way the case with me. So with me, what I can do is immediately when I close my eyes, I hit REM. I go straight into REM, and then if there is time to kill, I can have buffers and then go into REM again, buffer, and then I wake up. Or sometimes there's no buffers. I just go into REM and then I get up. And I can go into REM while I'm still awake. I can trigger that, and then what it becomes is, in my wake state, like here, like right now, I will all of a sudden see things. I guess you would have to call them hallucinations, but they're not hallucinations. It's my dream. It's my dream coming up. And especially like, that funny point when you're starting to fall asleep, that zone when you're still awake, but your dream is starting to come up into your consciousness and starting to swallow you up, but you're still aware that you're awake. I can do that, and I'll be rested. And so anyway, so for me, if I'm super tired, I can do a 15-minute cat nap, REM for 15 minutes, come right back up, and be good to go for a whole nother day. It's something that I can do. I can't control that. I can't control when REM hits. It's just that I can slip right into REM for some reason. And REM is all that you need. And REM actually doesn't need to last all that long for you to get everything you need. So I'm just super efficient at recovering and resting myself, and I don't need the whole thing of buffer that equates to a normal 8 hours sleep that I hear other people need. um, the other thing with that, oh, controlling your dreams. There is a thing called lucid dreaming, and this is when you maintain control when you are asleep and when you're dreaming. It's a whole technique, and it's a whole real thing. You can do this, and you can train yourself to do this. And then there are people that naturally do this. They have always done this since they were born. They could control their dreams, and they just thought everyone else could. They just thought, so that does not come naturally to me. I have very intense dreams where I think it's real, to the point where I used to have night terrors. And so where I can physically get up and run around in a dream state, but still be asleep, and it's all confused, and it's also real, and it's also vivid. And I was a victim of my night terrors, which is why I went into lucid dreaming, because I was trying to figure out how to control that, and I needed to train myself to become aware that I was in a dream, and then how to control it, and how to pull myself out of it, and sometimes how to reverse it, or just control the dream so that it would stop scaring me and things. So with that, I don't know, with that control, I gained a lot. By controlling my dream state, I was able to manifest a lot more self-control into these different things, so that I wasn't such a victim of my own brain. All right, so I think those are some big things that make me a little bit different. Numbers are weird, but that has okay. I'm starting to talk quite a bit now, so I think I'm just going to wrap this up. I think those are the big weird things about me, and let's have a chat about it. So if you do lucid dreaming, you don't need to eat a lot. I don't know if that's a thing. And not because you're making yourself diet, okay? I'm not trying to diet. I just don't feel like eating. I don't feel the need, because I physically don't need it. I only need to eat what I need to eat, and then that's it. And I'm really good about feeling what foods I need to eat. Oh, the other thing about these different voices that I hear, I can also hear imaginary voices, like when I'm with my pet, or any of my animals. It's almost like I hear them talking to me, and I don't think it's well, it must be part of my imagination, but it's not made up, okay? Because what I think I'm doing is I am reading their body language and their intent and their energy, and translating that into a voice that comes through my head. So I essentially can hear them talk to me as clear as anything else, as clear as if another person was talking to me. And this comes out oftentimes when I'm talking to my animals, and I'm talking out loud to my animals, and people are like looking at me like I'm crazy, because they must be thinking that I'm just imagining this whole thing in my brain, right? And I'm just making up a whole conversation. Well, I'm not making it up. This is a conversation we are physically, literally having right now. You just are not hearing it. But a lot of my training videos, I put all of the things, and when we have big conversations, I video that, like when I was getting Lacer to lay down, and then he lay down great the first time, and then he didn't lay down so great the second time. We had this whole conversation, and then I put that on video, and a lot of people are missing it. But if you watch it again in think of a conversation and try to pick up that conversation, you see that we're having this conversation, and you can see it in real life, because you can see me telling him to lay down, and him saying, no, I don't want to lay down. And then we just lay down, and then finally he lays down, right? So if you physically can see him doing what I'm asking him to do with no ropes or any physical thing, it's just this conversation, this interaction that we're having, then something is going on. there is an interaction going on, right? You're just not physically able to see it, but it is happening. And that is how come a lot of times people go, well, how long does it take you to teach them to do this? And oftentimes I feel bad, but I just want to say, in reality, a lot of times I just tell them. They might say, well, but and then I well, but well, what about and then they do it, and it's all within like 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then the owners will usually be watching this and they'll go, whoa, what just happened? How did you do that? And I'll look at them and I go, okay, I'm going to tell you, but you're going to think I'm crazy. I just told him to do it. Yeah, but I've been working on this forever. It doesn't work. Well, I explained it in a way that they understood. And I convinced them that it would, be fine. And then it worked. So I'm like, you were able to see it, right? Maybe you were looking with the wrong eyes. But you keep watching it, and then you'll get it. You'll get how to talk to them and how to get them to do stuff. I was helping my friend. She's my neighbor down the street with her little one, and she said that she wanted her little her mini horse. She wanted her mini horse to learn how to fetch, and I was like, oh, that'll be so easy because he already. It'll be so here. I'll just do it for you real quick. And so I was telling him, okay, go fetch and da 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 da. And then something came up on my phone, and I was looking at my phone, and then I was da da da. And I'm like, she thinks the owner's watching this, right? And she's just seeing me physically on my phone. But during this time, he was figuring stuff out in his head, and he needed time, so that's why. But it was all part of it. And I need to turn there's a time when I need to turn my focus away to give him the space and time and no pressure, because sometimes when you just looking at him, just directing your focus at him, maybe it's just me because I have a very strong focus, it can be overwhelming. So I have to physically and everything make a point to shut this down, give them their space, right? Get to figure it out. And then, but yeah, in 15 minutes, he was fetching and he was fetching and he got it. He got the concept in his brain, because in 15 minutes he was fetching, and then you might think, yeah, but he's not going to hold it, because there's no true understanding. No, there was true understanding, because then I went home, and then the owner went back home, and then he immediately fetched for her, because he got it. He got the entire concept, and it only took like 15 minutes. So anyways, that's, oh my gosh, I started with one thing and I ended up with teaching a horse, and no, it's all about the conversations. So yeah, I went, but that's what happens. My brain just goes, and how I learn concepts, I branch. So, okay, this is another thing. Sorry, but here's one last thing, okay? A lot of people, when they try to learn something, they want someone to teach them how to do it, right? So you go, okay, from point A, do these steps, B, C, D, E, done, goal, straight line to here, okay? Someone learns like this, and then they go, oh, okay, I'm an expert. I know how to get from point A to point B, C, D, E. I'm an expert. I know how to do this. I'm good. You do this to me, and to my world, things are not straight like that. So to my world, I go, well, what about, I am here, what about all of this? And then they go, forget about all that. You don't need to know all that. Just know from here to here. That's how you do it. This is why I had such a hard time in school. And until I learned how to teach myself the way I need to be taught. And how I need to be taught is I start here, but it's more like a point, okay? So I start here at a point, and then I branch. and imagine branches, and I have to do this, and I branch in all directions, and when I have this whole entire thing mapped out, now I feel like I'm an expert, and I feel like okay, I got this. And once I do this all the way around, then I can find solutions. And then I know there is no just one way. I'm not judgmental, because the problem with the people that go from here to here and they only know this one straight line is anything outside of that line is wrong. It's no, we don't do that. No, why would you? They get judgmental. And I'm not saying everyone has it. I'm just saying that it can, because they only know one way. When you only know one way, then it's very limited, but they don't feel like they're limited. They just think that there's just one way to do it. Versus, my brain is more like, oh yeah, you can do this. Oh yeah, you can go this way. If you keep going this way, you're going to die. But you can go this way to about this point, and you're still safe. And then you can go this way, and and you'll still be safe, because you'll still end up here, and you'll still be fine. So it's like, so I'm very flexible and mobile, and so there's no real judgment. And I just go by the data, and I'm fine with exploring mistakes or problems, or the paths that other people don't want to take, or the paths that people, when someone says, oh, that's impossible, to me that just goes, oh, to me that translates as, oh, that's a path that we haven't explored fully, or we explored it, we tried to explore it, but everyone died, and so we're just going to label that as dangerous, stay out. But I'm always thinking, well, but did they try every way in that path? Maybe they didn't. Maybe there is a way going down there. And that is how I found other concepts and I go, oh no, see, it's fine. You just have to make sure you do this, though, to succeed down this path, right? So yeah. Anyways, all right, I'm done. So let me know what you think, and I'd love to hear how your brain works. And if you have any weird, quirky things, share that too. Let's get it all out there, I mean, our human brains is one of the most amazing things in this world, and yet we don't talk about it enough, I don't think. Maybe because a lot of us are worried that if we do talk about it, there's going to be guys showing up at our front door putting us in straitjackets and hauling us away to the loony house, right? But yeah, our brains work in many, many, many different ways, and I'd love to hear how yours works. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.